Happy New Year's everyone! In less than 24 hours time, the January window reopens, and in today's video I'm here to discuss everything that you need to know for the January window. I'll be going through the latest updates, exit news plus a host more, so I hope you guys enjoy the video. Show some love this New Year's, hit that like button. Let's try and get over 2,500 likes to represent the start of the new year. Hope you guys enjoy. And let's get straight into things. Now, to kick things off, we start things with one of the developing stories this last 24 hours, as we are set to say hello to a player that we signed and loaned back to Boca Juniors, as Anselmino now has been officially recalled and is set to go to Cobham to work and train under Enzo Maresca. Now, at the moment, he makes his flight and journey here this Friday. So by next week, Anselmino will be registered, become part of the squad, and he is the much needed defensive reinforcement that we need right now. But to give you guys some more context behind the story, Argentinian reports have revealed that we have paid the $1 million penalty fees, of course, to activate and exercise the recall option in his loan spell. Now, when we signed him for around 18 million euros, remember that we loaned him back to Boca Juniors and he was supposed to remain there until the end of their season. But naturally, with our need for reinforcement in defense, it's an encouraging move that we've done this because this is the profile that we need. Now, on one hand, I think to myself, especially after last night's disappointing defeat to Ipswich Town, you're using options like Disasi as a wide centre-back when you have Joshua Chimpong, who recently signed a long-term deal at this football club. How is he going to feel now, knowing that a player that we signed for big money realistically will get the opportunities ahead of him, even though there are now actively pathways that should be open for him because we need his profile playing wide. Let's see what happens. I don't want to get too cynical. There is still a lot left of this season. Let's see what happens. But realistically, with long-term injuries now to Badia Chill and yet again to Wesley Fofana, it's imperative that we introduce a defender that is comfortable playing this wide centre-back role. And Anselmino is an incredible progressive passer of the ball. Great line-breaking passes. And he's one of those guys that I like when big clubs sign because he's a defender that could even play as a DM. He's very comfortable carrying that ball forward, and seeing how our wingers have suffered recently, they're getting doubled up on time and time again. You need that support out wide that can help free them, that can support them, either with an underlap by playing close to them, or the occasional overlap if that possibility arises. So this was the right move to make. I was hoping, fingers crossed, this would happen, and I'm really excited to see what this kid can bring. Obviously, he needs some time to acclimatize to life in London with his new teammates. It's great that we have tons of Spanish-speaking players here. They'll put their arm around him, they'll look after him, but even though this kid has tons of potential and talent, let's not get too gassed or carried away, because I see with this fan base that, even though we're constantly signing youth players, we have unfair and unrealistic expectations on these young guys, and we talk about them as if they're in their prime, as if they're 27, 29 years old. Give them some room to breathe and grow. But we do have an exciting talent now that's back within the club, and this is the move that we desperately need. And I'm curious now if this could even encourage us to potentially, be more open to offers with Disasi, who is one of the potential favourites to leave us in this window. Let's see what happens with my friends. Share your thoughts and opinions. How do you feel about this news? Let us know below. Now for the next part, my friends, we discuss all things January window and what to expect. To start with things, we're learning that Torino have made the first official proposal to engineer a move now for Cesare Casadei. Now, what's interesting about their efforts is that it's been likened to a Nico Paz style move in which the Real Madrid's youth player went to Como, and essentially it means that Torino would put in a clause which allows us to sign Casadei in the future for a pre-arranged fee. That is really interesting because it gives us possibilities. If Casadei does develop, could there be a potential opening in the team in the future? Or more realistically, if this pre-arranged fee is quite reasonable and Casadei develops, we could sign him back, and flip him again within that same window. So let's see what happens. But as we know, half of Serie A is after this kid. And if anything, now that news that Torino have made a first official offer, I think this will encourage many other Serie A clubs now to come in, make their moves, with Lazio being one of the favourites who are desperate to try and sign him. So let's watch this space. Outside of that, we're learning the list now behind potential exits in January, and those players include Dewsbury Hall, Carnes, Disasi, and even Nkunku. Now, when it comes to Nkunku, many people internally at the football club are very open to him remaining here and believe in his talents, but it comes down to the player. Now, his agent has been talking to clubs already to potentially engineer a move for Nkunku in January. There's been talks of a potential move to Barcelona, but I don't think they have the funds whatsoever, especially as they're desperately fighting for their lives now to be able to get Dani Olmo to re-register with them. It's a long story, but let's see what happens there. But there are still many other clubs showing interest in Nkunku, and it comes down to the player, and Nkunku has full control over whether he remains here or goes. So let's watch this space. But outside of that, we'll look at potential offers we can receive for your Carnes, Dewsbury Halls, and Disasi's. They have to be good ones though, as we know. With Carnes, for example, we're looking at offers of close to around 40 million, which I think is pretty outrageous considering he's barely played this last year and a half. Let's not make another Armando Broja style mistake. But in terms of the other updates we're learning around this month, we've learned courtesy of Max London First, I think I'm saying his name right, that Maresca has revealed that he wants a striker and midfield cover in January. Now, it's no surprise that we're exploring currently possible loan options for strikers. Those main two ones being Evan Ferguson, who's had long-term interest here and could provide a potential aerial threat for us, and Kolo Muani. Make sure you guys stay right to the end so I can discuss one of the big stories to focus on in January. But it does seem like Maresca now wants that striker and midfield cover. Now, midfield cover is interesting. We're still waiting to learn whether we are definitely recalling Ugo Chukwu back to the squad. Now, Leslie had a great time this preseason working on Maresca. He even had the license to play more box-to-box. He scored a fantastic equalizer against Inter Milan, and it does seem like there could be more work between himself and Enzo Maresca. I find it interesting because currently we are absolutely stacked in abundance, possessing this 8/10 style player. You know, Nkunku, Felix, Dewsbury Hall, Chukwuemeka, and none of them have cemented any guaranteed first team minutes on a consistent basis in this team. That communicates that I think Maresca wants that balance of a player that can play in both boxes, but he trusts more of a midfield style player than a classical attacking player that can fill deeper positions. So let's see what happens there. Don't expect Andre Santos to return back in January. It'd be incredibly surprising if that happens. Realistically, there'll be a pathway open for the kid from next season. Now, for myself, it does feel like Maresca now wants to assert himself at the club. And I think one of the best ways to assert yourself is by building the squad more in your image right now. Now, throughout the summer, as we know, we signed quite a few players that Maresca didn't actually ask for, with the famous two examples being Kiernan Dewsbury Hall and Joao Felix. Recently, in our last 3 games, we've seen a reluctance from Maresca to actually rotate and use what he has. We've seen our bench littered with goalkeepers. There was even 2 goalkeepers on the bench at one time when players like Dewsbury Hall and Carnes were omitted from first team duties. Now, in my opinion, I think it's quite harsh because you think to yourself, as a fan, I'm not thinking as a manager, but as a fan, use what you have to your full capacity because getting 3 points is more important than any outside politics, right? I get that, but I guess in real life for a manager, in Maresca's position now, you communicate to the owners that you don't like what you have, hence why you're not playing them, hence why you're not using them in moments where you actually should be using them. And you play hardball now, so you can kind of assert your dominance a bit more and have the directors now working more in line with your vision. So it's no surprise why a striker, because Nico can't do this all by himself, and another midfield player could be the options that we turn to. So that's all the latest we are learning around January so far. Expect many more developments to come through later this month. Make sure you're locked in on BlueLionsTV. But my friends, we haven't think one of the big stories that we have to discuss. And now we talk Kolo Muani, because as we know, a report came out from Foot Masato mentioning that we are looking at striker reinforcements. Everyone knows this. You're looking at your Liam Delap's, Evan Ferguson's, Osam Hens, and now Kolo Muani. What makes this story fascinating is that we are exploring the option to sign Kolo Muani on loan with the option to buy at the end. No obligation. I don't think Paris Saint-Germain are in that position themselves to be demanding guaranteed money from his sale. If anything, they need to kind of hope that Muani excels somewhere else out on loan and hopefully attracts a market towards him and encourages potential new suitors. Football reports that we are seduced by Kolo Muani's ability to play in many different attacking areas across the field. Why is this important? Because Muani is someone that can operate alongside another striker. During his heyday at Frankfurt, he was getting double digits for goals and assists. You know, this is someone that can do quite a lot of things tactically. And if anything, my immediate impression behind this story is that this is a Laurent Stewart move because, of course, he came from Monaco. He's an expert in Liga and he will know Kolo Muani inside and out. And I feel like this is him assigning himself now to potentially find a solution for Enzo Maresca. Now, I could be cynical. Recently, we haven't been that great of an option for French players. Outside of Malo Gusto, who's even suffered a little bit this season, getting used to playing a more inverted role. Nkunku, Badiashile, Axel, they've not been able to assert themselves with prominent minutes since they signed for us. And Wesley Fofana, sadly, has been very injury prone. And all these guys signed for us with the expectations and hopes that we be the move to put them on the map and secure their places in their national team. So is Muani going to be interested signing for us? I'd be surprised if he wasn't, but currently a host of Premier League clubs are watching the player and paying attention. So this won't be that simple. But anyway, let's talk Kolo Muani. I know a lot of you guys might be rolling your eyes, scratching your head, looking hella bewildered. But is there a common sense behind this move? Well, let's talk about this. As we know, this season's not been great. 2 starts, 8 sub appearances, I think 2 goals, 1 assist, and 14 appearances, barely any minutes. It's been a bad season, but there's context behind why, and that context is Luis Enrique has adapted away from needing direct strikers up front. Goncalo Ramos has barely played, and actually up front this season for Paris Saint-Germain, he is using Marco Asensio as a false 9, and the goal threat is now coming from the forces of Ousmane Dembele and Bradley Barcola, with Dembele finally showing consistent scoring, which he's never really shown on a regular basis, and Barcola, he's relishing not having Mbappe alongside him anymore. So it does seem like they are attacking in a different way. Their solutions they need require different profiles, and there seems to be no need now for 2 of their biggest signings last summer already in Ramos and Muani. This is pretty terrible for Luis Campos, who made a lot of effort. You know, that deal to even sign him from Frankfurt, that dragged on right till the very end. And the fact that he's kind of obsolete already 12 months later, that's not a great look. So Paris Saint-Germain are going to be pretty open now to assessing what they can do with players that aren't really needed anymore. I mention this point because this doesn't take away from the talent of Muani. It just means that the striker did not complement the manager's vision. And I've said for years, if there was any position that is one of the most key ones, that's a striker position, because the striker must always complement what the game plan is. And currently these guys just don't. So right now, there's a pretty interesting possibility in the market. Kolo Muani, he is a multifaceted threat. Now, I'm going to say this straight. Is he world-class? No, he's not. I know a lot of you guys will be thinking about his miss right near the end of the World Cup final against Argentina. Maybe that was the first sign that, he's not the guy that will be the match winner in moments like this. But I'd say he's a level below. And I'd say that for the needs that we need this season, competition for Nico, but actually just support for Nicholas Jackson, I don't think we're doing anything wrong by casting our eyes now on Kolo Muani. I mean, this is a guy that was one of the top 3-4 fastest players in the Bundesliga. He's got ridiculous pace. This is someone that can play down either flank, up front, and also in a 2. This is someone that's always ranked very high for short creating actions. He just makes things happen inside the box. He has box presence. He had so many touches. I think he ranked highest in the Bundesliga at that time for most touches inside the box. And he is also someone, of course, that is a very strong carrier of the ball. I think for what this team needs, after seeing the performance yesterday, when you don't have Nico up front, we don't have anyone that's occupying the attention of opposition defenses, and we need that. This team needs that. We always need an outlet. I think that's the most important thing we've noticed right now. And Kolo Muani fills two roles. With Mudryk now being hit with this provisional suspension, this is a 2-in-1 player that can play out wide when we need him and can play up front too. And to be honest with you, I think right now in January, I'm not committing to any long-term moves unless some unreal option becomes available, because I'm thinking the long term. I'm thinking Champions League football. If we secure that, this means the big sponsors come back. And if the big sponsors come back, this means we can be more ambitious in the summer window. And that must be the final window, the end game window that hopefully now takes the squad from European contenders to actual title challenges right now. That's the key thing. So I am open to this move for Kolo Muani. I think you can get him for a pretty good price. I don't think that Paris Saint-Germain can get too gas behind figures and fees and prices they want. He does have a lot of experience in Europe as well. And, you know, he does have something we can turn to. I feel like his profile could complement the needs of this team right now. And I probably have him over an Evan Ferguson for sure. And obviously, I'm not expecting us to do anything in terms of Osimhen or even Liam Delap. I'm being realistic. This is a realistic move that can get done. And for the sake of this team, getting additional reinforcement up front is very important this January. So how do you guys feel about this news? Are you open to this? Are you against this? Let us know in the comment section. I want to say again, Happy New Year's, everyone. Thank you to everyone that's shown love over the year. 2025 is going to be a massive year for all of us. It'll be a massive year for this channel. Some big things are coming. I'm really excited. Been working on many things, and yeah, man, I feel like this has to be the year to fully establish this channel and take things to a different level. So thank you to all the support and love that you guys have always shown. Enjoy yourselves tonight. Get lit, get drunk, do whatever, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Cool.